Hello again. It is time to continue on with the introduction to rhythm that we started in the last class. And we're going to start by saying, when do we get to rest? Because there are times when there are no notes playing, right? So how long can a rest be? Well, for every given note, there is a rest. And we have the same variations for rests that we do for notes. So we could have a whole rest, 4 counts of rest, a half rest would be 2, quarter rest would be 1, eighth rest would be a half. Remember, that's if we're using the quarter note to count the beat, right? So let me draw some of these things for you, and let's see what we can see. All right, so I'm going to put them out to the side of the person who did this lovely illustration here. And let's see if we can do this. So I always like to start with the quarter note, or the quarter rest, excuse me, with the impossible squiggly. If I think about it too much, I can't do it correctly. When I used to, it was just like, yeah, okay, I think that's a quarter rest, right? But I finally got used to this idea that it's this sort of, you go this way, bounce down, come back around. Oh, that's a nice looking quarter rest. All right. When we talk about the half rest, we are going to think about it as like a little hat. And back in the olden times, you would take off your hat if you walked into a building, into a church, in the presence of a lady. You'd take off your hat. So a half gentleman would not take off their hat, and so the hat is on. And then the whole rest is the gentleman has taken off their little hat. And wow, can I really mess up very basic coloring in of a whole rest. I am not an artist. I am a musician. It's a little bit different. Then we have the eighth rest. It's just like a little blip with flag. No big deal. All right. So let's take a look at that note tree again and see that you can basically do a rest tree. So once again, we're still in simple division of the beat, right? So we've got at the top the whole rest, which lines up with the whole note. Half rests, right? Line up with half notes, and so on. So if we do a little bit of sight reading, basically we're just going to be silent for the parts that are rests. So let me do number 5. So if I count it out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Super basic, right? Just don't clap on the parts that are rests. So we talked a little bit earlier about sometimes the beat could be a dotted quarter note, right? So how many beats does that dot add? Okay. So let's take a look at this kind of a note. I'll try to make, nope, totally didn't make that any neater. This is a dotted half note, and it gets like 3 quarter note beats, right? What if I decided to write it like this instead? I'm like, okay, whoops. Right? What is that? It is called a tie, and it's a line that connects the duration of 2 notes. And I want you to be careful not to connect it with a slur, which is a way of connecting 2 notes melodically. So here we have the tie, right? And you can see that they're right next to each other. They are the same note, like they're both a D or they're both an A or whatever, and they are connected with a tie. So we have connecting the duration of the notes. A slur, on the other hand, would be like we're slurring notes together as they're going up or down the staff, okay? Tie, on the other hand, would be same notes with a tie underneath them. So we have seen that a dotted half is the same as a half tied to a quarter, right? So here are a few more examples, right? We might say, okay, a dotted quarter note is the same as, put that dot on there, a quarter note tied to an eighth note. My messy quarter notes. Or a dotted whole note, which would be really long, is basically equal to a whole note tied to a half note. Whoops, good grief. Yeah, my writing skills are not so great on the iPad. So if we look at these examples, what does the dot do? It basically adds half the value of the note onto the note, all right? So let's take a look here. Half the value of the note back onto the note. So the first one, dotted quarter note, is 1.5 beats, right? The second note, a dotted eighth note, right? 3/4 of a beat. Holy cow. And the last one, a dotted half note, is 3 beats. Now, again, these are all simple division of the beat where the quarter note is getting the beat. All right, so basically the tie and the dot are two different ways of notating the same rhythm. Okay, so how are we going to choose one or the other? So we are basically going to think about the ease of reading the music. So if I'm writing music and let's see, and I write this rhythm. Let's see here. Versus this one. Oh, I gotta put my ties in there before I forget, because you're gonna be like, what's the deal? Those are the same rhythm. Which one is easier to count? Well, I would argue that the first one is easier to count because I can see where the beat falls. There's my regular beat, right? It's very easy for me to be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because I can see exactly where the beat falls. I would say it's a little bit harder to read the dotted notes. Okay, so as a composer, you are going to decide whether you want to use dotted notes or tied notes, just depending upon making it easier for the person reading the music. So let's do a little bit of counting of some dotted notes. So here we are. First one's pretty easy, right? Dotted half note and 2/8 notes. Count it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's pretty easy. Let's skip to number 3. 1. Oh goodness, I'm gonna mark my beat. You know what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you notice I just mark a straight line down to help me count the beat. So let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that was way easier. That was way, way easier. So this is a tool that I've come up with. Okay, let me take that back. This is a tool one of my old music teachers showed me to help count rhythm. I'm going to mark the pulse or the beat to help me keep track of where I am. So for instance, let's look at number 9 here. And I'm going to say, I'm going to mark the beat. And I'm not doing quarter notes or half, I'm just literally marking a line. Where's my little toe going to tap, right? And I see where the tie is, and I'm just like, okay, so. Because I can feel that pulse as I see those lines marking the pulse. How about the one above it, number 8? Just marking the beat. Notice here, I marked that beat a little bit before that 8th note because that 8th note is not on the beat. Yeah. So it's a really handy tool if you've got some rhythms that are a little bit difficult. It really helps you sight read rhythm better. Okay? And of course, this is all simple division of the beat. These examples right here. So, simple division of the beat. We're dividing the beat into multiples of 2. But we listened to a song where clearly the beat was divided into multiples of 3, right? And so we talked a little bit about that if the beat is divided into 3, we're going to be using some dots, right? So if a beat is made up of 3/8 notes, we're going to use a dotted quarter note for the beat. So I might have 4 beats that are in simple division up at the top left. The quarter note is divided up into 2/8 notes, or I might have 4 beats that are divided up into 3 or compound division. And you can see, like if I line up the beats on the top, it's helping me see where that pulse is. Same on the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Okay. So, lots of stuff going on here. I can mark the beat in these examples as well, and this is where it becomes very handy indeed. Let me choose one that's, we'll do 7 and 8, marking the beat. Right? So, number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy peasy. Number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I've marked where my little toe's doing its thing, my head's bopping, I'm feeling the beat, and I've marked where the beat lies. And so it really, really just makes it easier to sight read. Now, just like we can have dotted notes, by the way, we can have dotted rests, right? Here is the rest tree, dotted whole rest at the top, going down to the dotted half rests, dotted quarter, and dotted 8th rests, right? And just as a reminder, we can't have the rest go in any old place, okay? If I want to put or not a rest, the dot. If I want to do a 8th rest, that dot's got to go up there. If I want to do a quarter rest, that dot's got to go up there, okay? If I want to do a whole, there we go, color that in and cringe at how bad I am at coloring, put that dot off to the side. So it is important to make sure that you don't just throw the dot in any old place. Like here's my quarter note, there's my dot. I can't do a quarter note and have a dot like over here or up here or down here. At that point, it just looks like I messed up writing on the page. All right. So here are some more examples mixing up beat and rest. So let's see which one might be a little bit more challenging. Here we go, the one up at the top. So marking my beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, super, super easy. We are officially through the rhythm section. Whew, it's a lot to take in. You think rhythm is super simple, but right away we're like, wait, it's not just rhythm. It's beat and tempo. And I can have a simple division of the beat or a compound division of the beat. And that's going to lead us later into simple meter and compound meter. So I really want you to get that idea that the beat could be divided up into multiples of 2. So quarter note, 2/8 notes, very simple. Or a little bit more difficult because we're not used to it, dotted quarter note, 3/8 notes, right? I know when I first learned to read music and I was playing the piano, it was the quarter note gets the beat. That's just the way it was. And so when I got into high school and we started playing I was playing in the marching band, except we didn't march. We were a tiny school, so we just played in the stands. But I'll call it the marching band. There was music in what we call cut time, where the half note got the beat. And I just couldn't get my brain around how to count that because I'd never encountered it before, right? Half note getting the beat. If I just marked my beats, I would have been good to go, but I didn't learn how to mark my beats until I was in college. So that is it for today. A lot of things to think about. So I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.